Okay, here he is, one of the headliners for the night. Alex Jones, head of Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, has his own radio show as well. Alex, my friend, welcome back.
George, I'm honored to be part of this show with the stock market going below 8,000 and our long predictions of the world government staging this economic planetary collapse so they can consolidate things and set up a new Bretton Woods and a new world currency directed by the private banks.
I wanted you on first, Alex, because beyond just all the scale of economies we're going to be talking about tonight, this is an angle that is not being looked at by the mainstream media at all, and it's a very strong possibility. Why this is happening now, why this is happening so quickly. I mean, there are so many people I have talked to now over the last few weeks that just, it's almost as if we woke up and everything was gone. Everything was taken away from us. This was in the works, though, you think, for a long time.
Well, absolutely, George. I mean, I keep going back to this when we covered this 6 weeks ago when we were on air saying don't do the bailout, which is really a foreign banking takeover of the U.S. government. And by the way, a whole bunch of congressmen and senators are saying that. This is a hijacking. This is a heist. This is a takeover. The banker bailout bill passed back on October 3rd and signed by the president on October 3rd gave omnipotent power to the private Federal Reserve and to the Treasury. And the Treasury said, oh, we've got to have this right now or the economy will go into depression. Now, that itself was economic terrorism, to have the Treasury Secretary and the President and not just Bush, Barack Obama, spearheading, calling the Black Caucus, calling Congress, going on the news, saying we've got to have this or we'll have a depression. Well, just that itself destroyed confidence. The market, of course, plunged 900 and something points. And then they got the bailout, and within days said, we're not going to give the $850 billion, and the bill really said $5 trillion. That's now in Bloomberg and AP. We're going to give that to banks. And then the big banks, not your Main Street or local bank, but the big, inner New World Order banks that control the currencies of the world, they said, we're keeping it for bonuses, and we're keeping it to buy healthy financial institutions, regional banks, local banks, foreign banks. We're going to give it to overseas banks, Chinese banks, Arab banks, British banks, European banks. And so that happened. So there's no doubt that this is a controlled consolidation, vertical integration. I mean, go back to 2.5 years ago when I was at Bilderberg in Canada. We came on the air. We wrote stories at PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. You covered it. You had Daniel Estlin on. We have a video clip from June 2006 at the hotel with Daniel Estlin, and he had his source inside, so did Tucker. And we said, what do the sources say? And it's all on video. They said they're going to run the market up to 14,000 in the next year. They did that. Then to sucker people in, then they're going to pop the subprime mortgage bubble, but that's only the pretext to then cut off liquidity. So they got the American people and the world in debt. They told us debt was the way to go. They told everybody go out and get these loans. And then they cut the blood supply off. And so basically the currency, the liquidity, the loans have been cut off to companies, to Ford, to GM, to the media, to everybody who was told to basically run our economy based on this. And so the economy's like a zombie right now. The blood is not flowing. It's basically dead. And that's what this small inner group of banks needs to consolidate things. So they're flush in $5 trillion they've stolen in 5 weeks. They're flush in that money. They did a bait and switch, according to Senator Inhofe and Congressman Kucinich and Cummings and Issa.
What they said and what they performed were two different things.
Which, if you go back to the guest you had on, I was listening that whole week to you and your guest, and of course my cell phone, 6 weeks ago, last time I was on, folks, go to Streamlink, listen to it. We said it's going to be trillions, and I read the Bloomberg headline of $5 trillion because they read the bill too, and we said this is going to kill the economy. So when we talk about auto dealers, that's really a red herring. I mean, I'm no fan of Ford and GM and Chrysler. They've certainly been bureaucratic and had a lot of problems, but still, they're all we have left is a real industrial base. It is strategic. It is national security. And so we have $5 trillion given to these multinational foreign banks that aren't even American who lied to get it. And then we're debating whether $25 billion in loans should be given to automakers. Now, I agree that's not going to fix the problem. It's not going to fix the quality problem. The issue is we should give $25 billion if we're going to give $5 trillion to foreign banks, because part of that $25 billion would at least trickle down into the real economy. And so this is going to be a death knell if they allow these to go into bankruptcy, if this happens. And I'm sure it is. This is part of blowing out America for a fire sale. It's in the Club of Rome documents, Trilateral Commission documents. And then the incredible thing we saw, I Googled last week the term New World Order in Google News, clicking news, not web.
Right.
59,000 articles. Every major paper in the country and the world said, a new world order is what we need, a world government by these banks. They will set the price of currencies every day. They will control markets. They will regulate. They will fix the problem. But they are the ones that orchestrated this crisis so they could offer the solution, which was greater control. And so now we openly see world government being announced. And last week, Kashkari, this week, Paulson said, hey, they chastised Congress, and they said, we're not going to tell you where $2 trillion of the $5 trillion went. That was in Bloomberg, AP, Reuters. So
yeah, basically, it's none of your business. We needed you to approve it, but we're not telling you where we're spending it.
And remember that clause we covered on air 6 weeks ago that you and your guest covered ad nauseum. It said in the bill that unlimited power, no review,
that's right,
total secrecy would be given to the Treasury. And so people think the government's taking over the banks. No, the government's not getting a voting share in all this stock. They are being taken over by the banks and world government of and by a private inner group, not your Main Street bank folks, but the central private bankers are taking over. But when we get back, I can tell folks the good news.
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope there's some good news. We're with Alex Jones, the Bulldog. We'll take some of your calls with him while we continue chatting with him about the economic meltdown. I'm George Norrie. This is Coast to Coast AM.